And I think we're going to move on to the the Iron Bowl.
So I want to throw both of us a bone right here because we did not mention it on the live last week.
No.
You go back to previous shows this year and even just us talking off the air, and I mentioned it off the air before we started last week. Strange things happen in the Iron Bowl when it's being played at Jordan-Hare, no matter how good either of these teams are. And I mentioned last week that Auburn lost to New Mexico State the week before, which was a game that Hugh Freeze should not have lost.
Hell no.
And I said, or I asked you the question, has Auburn won a game this year? Has Hugh Freeze won a game this year that he was not supposed to? You thought for a minute, you said, no, he hadn't. And all I asked was, is this that game?
No.
And it almost happened. We kind of figured that it wouldn't. Both of us picked Alabama to win this game, but man, was it close. I mean, just 4th down and goal from the 30.
31.
31. And Jalen Milroe just throws a dime to the back of the end zone. Isaiah Bond, touchdown. And man, just,
look, let's add to that though. It's not just the 4th down and 31. It was the drama that led up to the 4th down and 31, right? And let's be honest. All right, I've got a funny story for this. So Tennessee and Vanderbilt are playing, right? We're in Neyland Stadium watching Tennessee. But of course, I hate that I'm bringing my phone on stream, but I've got the phone right here as I'm watching the Iron Bowl. And I got to put my phone in the pocket, and I hear like 13 people behind me say, hey, bro, can you put your phone back up? And I'm like, what? What? And this was like before the 4th down, right? So I'm like, all right, fine. I'll put my phone back up. So I'm actually not even checked into the game, right? And I'm watching my boys because who the hell goes to Neyland and then watching another game, dog? So I'm sitting there enjoying the game, and then I kind of look down, and I'm like, oh, shit, there's a muff punt, which ironically, funny thing, we'll talk about. Well, we've already talked about it. They muffed a punt exactly when we muffed our freaking punt. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And so then I'm invested. I'm like, all right, I got to watch it. And then I kind of made a joke. I'm like, you know what? I'm getting a phone call, guys. And like everybody got pissed off at me. And I'm just sitting there clowning with them. But yeah, man, I was sitting there. I didn't even realize, like, I tried to throw out the show. I was like, hey, guys, now is a bad time to say that I got a podcast. Like, y'all can tune in and listen. Yeah. But no, it was just funny, man. Everybody was so invested. I mean, the hate for Alabama is so real that everybody wanted to watch them lose. And they pulled it out, man. Some more magic in Jordan-Hare, except this time it was against Auburn. When it was 4th down, right, and they called the timeout, they went to commercial break, they come back. I'm like, there's no way. Like it's over. Like, there's no sense in watching it. And then Hugh Freeze probably pulls one of the biggest coaching mistakes ever and only rushes Jalen Milroe with 2 guys. And that will forever haunt. I mean, you're going to see that highlight just like you see the kick 6. You're going to see that highlight from now on in the future in every single hype video for the Iron Bowl because you only brought 2 guys. Inexcusable. For him to be able to plant his feet, throw that ball to the corner exactly where maybe he does that on the run because Jalen Milroe's, he's a good quarterback. But you've got to at least bring 4 people. There's no reason to not.
But also as a defender right there, you can't let an Alabama wide receiver get behind you like that. Because Jalen Milroe, is he Bryce Young? No. But he is also very accurate when throwing the ball downfield. And you could tell just the way that he dropped it in the breadbasket right there to Isaiah Bond. It was in the perfect spot. But also, the Auburn defender was about 3 yards in front of him when the ball got there. Yeah. You can't let the wide receiver get behind you like that.
But you're asking a guy to guard somebody for 17 seconds. I mean, Jalen Milroe literally just sat there waiting for something to happen, and then, of course, he pulled the trigger. But
you brought it up too. There was 10 guys back there defending that.
So, it's inexcusable. It's inexcusable in every way. But regardless, the only reason why a defender has to defend for that long is because he only brought 2 guys. There's no reason for it. That I just thought that was dumb. I mean, when the play happened, before the touchdown even happened, I'm like, you're only bringing 2 guys? Like, what the hell? And then, of course, whatever happened, it happened. And I thought it was funny because, of course, Bama fans are saying, "Hey, Auburn" on Facebook. And I'm like, "Hey, Bama, that was you for 59 minutes." So I don't know why you're talking shit. But, at the end of the day, this was huge for Bama. Obviously, it's huge for Bama to win the Iron Bowl. But that whole "there's a chance" would have just got wiped out if they lost an Iron Bowl.
Yeah, and I was going to bring that up too. So,
yeah.
In a way, for the SEC, it's good that Alabama won this game because
absolutely.
If Alabama beats Georgia in the SEC championship, I believe that no matter what, the SEC champion is going to be in the playoffs. I don't believe that the runner-up, all right, let's just use the scenario if Alabama beats Georgia this weekend. I don't think Alabama and Georgia both get in. I believe, it's going to all depend on what happens in the other championship games, but I don't believe that both of those get in. I think that just the conference champion will. Now
we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that after the recap because I got a lot to talk about on that. But no.
Shout out to Auburn though, because they played their hearts out in this game. This is the type of performance you wanted to see from Auburn after the absolute embarrassing loss that they took last week to New Mexico State. They came out, they played their hearts out in this game. Peyton Thorne didn't have a fantastic day, but Auburn did what they needed to in this game to stay in the game. Their defense played well for the majority of the game, held Alabama to 27 points, where they've been putting up 40 plus in most games here lately.
Yeah.
So this is what the Iron Bowl needs to look like year in and year out. I was glad that we got it.
Yeah, absolutely. Hats off to Auburn. I do have a bone to pick with Alabama, though. Not necessarily Alabama, but a player on Alabama. And I give him credit. Jalen Milroe is playing out of his mind lately. But after that game, there's a clip of him coming off the sideline saying, "Let's go, let's effing go," and whatever. Like, he's heated. He's emotional. They just won a big game. But rather than him going and celebrating that win with his teammates, he has the audacity to say, "Give me the Heisman." What? Look, if you have to tell people to give you the Heisman, you're probably not even going to Atlanta or New York. And what really irks me about that mentality is it was all about him in that moment. It was never about the team. And to hear a player just outright say, crown, like, I hated when Milton scored touchdowns yesterday against Vanderbilt, and he's sitting there going, crown me. What? A king doesn't crown himself, you numbnuts. Like, look, Milroe, I lost a lot of respect for him in that moment. You never, after a big win, and he did, and he put it all on him. Like, "Hey, Heisman me." Like, no, dude, this was a team win. Yeah, you threw up the game winning, but like, your receiver had to catch that. And, your defense only gave up 24 points to keep you in the game when you probably should have scored 30 or 40 points. Like, he had a game. Don't get me wrong. He threw for 259, 2 touchdowns. He ran for 107 yards. But in my opinion, that was wrong on so many levels. He's not really played like a Heisman all year long. Let's not forget, he got benched in week 3 for whatever reason. We have our own idea of why that happened. But, to me, that was kind of selfish and very ignorant and showed his youth a little bit in that moment. But
I'm not going to get into it because I've got a whole big tangent I could go in on this, but I hate the way that sports are at every level now because, when me and you played, there was some of this going on, but, you look back before we started playing, you didn't see a whole lot of this showboating stuff or things like that going on. And now it's one little thing happens and, hey, I got to let everybody know about it.
Yeah.
And I hate that part of sports now. Like I said, that's all I'm going to say about it because I could go on for hours on that right there. But just do what Nick Saban used to say whenever he first got to Alabama. Act like you've been there before.
Exactly.
Act like you have been there before. Act like you've done it numerous times and move on with it.